Hi, Claire Obermarck here with this next story for our series of Mountains, Rocks and Stones. I'm stood here looking at the red rocks of Sedona, millions of years old. You can see the different colours there, and the different colours really are a timeline. We can see by the different colours when they were under swamps, for example, when they were completely under the sea. And these horizontal stratas of widths and colours, they do really read like a timeline for the geologists. They're really amazing. Millions of years old. So the story I want to give to you today is about the first king of the mountains. Now, when the world was very young, the king of the mountains was the mighty Westerwan, and he would rear his lofty head and point his nose up into the air, high above all the other hills and mountains. And he was so high that the clouds themselves just sat upon his shoulders like a robe, and there was only the sky between him and the sun and stars. And he was obsessed with his size and his height, and he was so obsessed that he stopped looking down altogether. He wasn't going to socialise with the rivers or the streams and the trees, or especially any lesser mountains or hills. And the very thought of that made him rumble. And so Westerwan became isolated, and the longer he stayed alone, the prouder he became. And this did not go unnoticed. The other hills around him saw how he wore the clouds as a robe. They saw him ignoring them, failing to meet their eye, failing to bid them good morning or to ask them how they were. Or, the most important question for any mountain, what were they pondering? For mountains have time to ponder. And so the hills, particularly the two closest to the Great Westerwan, Haramuk and Nanga Parbat, those two hills became bitter, and when they spoke about him, they poked fun at his lofty altitude, and soon all the other hills joined in, all except one, Gwashbrari. She didn't compare herself to others. She was serene and quite happy in herself, and she told the smaller hills that he was no better or worse than any of them, no matter how close he thought he was to the stars. "He's not my king," she said. "I am his queen. He's no king to me." And the other hills laughed, because she was actually the smallest hill of them all. Gwashbrari, the small glacial hill. "Feel free to laugh," she said, "but I'm telling you, by tomorrow's sunrise, Westerwan will be hanging upon my every word and eager to fulfill my every whim." And again the hills laughed, and the avalanches swept down their sides. But when the sun started to set, something did happen. A rosy glow covered Gwashbrari. Her cheeks blushed, and her iced beauty turned into a pink, welcoming glow. She glowed so much that even the mighty Westerwan noticed something glinting on the horizon, a new star perhaps, and his gaze turned downwards for the first time. And as it did so, he inhaled sharply at the very sight of Gwashbrari, and he just instantly called out, "Gwashbrari, kiss me or I die!" And his words rumbled around the valleys. Everyone heard it. "Why, King Westerwan, me, little me? Well, I'm indeed honoured that one so high could even notice one so low, but even if I tried, I doubt I could reach. 'Kiss me or I die,' came his reply. And then the smallest glacial hill whispered to the king, 'Those who love must stoop. Stoop, stoop, down, down, and bring your proud head closer.' And the king, entranced, slowly lowered himself down towards her, and as he did so, the sun set, and that beautiful glow left her pale ice face, and she turned away from him and shunned him. She stared up at the stars instead, it was too late. Westerwan was laid down, disground. And they say that's why the magnificent Westerwan stretches right across the valley of Kashmir, resting his head upon Queen Gwashbrari, the lowliest glacial hill, who succeeded in bringing a haughty king down a peg or two. I love that mountain story. And if you'd like to hear more mountain stories from that side of the world, it might be a good idea to seek out a storyteller called Geeta Ramanujam. Geeta tells a beautiful, amazing story called The Bird and the Mountain, and I remember being completely entranced listening to that story. But I hope you've enjoyed ours today, the glacier-hearted queen who brought down the king of all the mountains. Bye-bye.